Please, you could just go to the chat box and share your name, your location, your business or passion. Um, Thank you. Start very soon. Thanks for your patience. So good evening, everyone. My name is Professor Colin. I'll be your host for the day. A research and economics officer at Tongston Entrepreneurship Holdings. Briefly, I'll just give us the rules for. So please, while the webinar is going on, everyone should please, except those who will be speaking, um, not turn on their mics and camera. So please, it will be very helpful if everyone turn off their camera so as to reduce the distractions. The distraction while this webinar is going on. Thank you, Mr. Kaz. Thank you. So please let us turn off our camera and then our mics. If you have any questions, have anything you want to say, have any challenge while the webinar is going on, the chat box is available. So always go to the chat box and then just write there. Try and we have one or two people here that are able to help you out if you do need help. Okay. Um, Nice to meet you all. I have a short poll. Just okay. Before we go on the poll, okay. So welcome. So today, like I said, this is Tongston Entrepreneurship Holdings. The team of this webinar guide to assessing funds for business and passion in Africa. As people who are business owners and financial statistics indicating, and then it's quite very easy for big established businesses like the Dangote to actually access the funds they need. But this story is not usually this. People are starting business. And so that's the purpose of this work to educate us on the do's and the things we can do to actually access those funds, both for our businesses, for our fashion in Africa. Our speakers today are people who have acumen and experience speed of finance. And I'm sure you'll be learning so much from them. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So this webinar is organized by Tongston Entrepreneurship Holdings. Tongston Entrepreneurship Holdings. Tongston is a leading award-winning unique Pan-African group focused on entrepreneurial thinking through education, business, finance, media to achieve sustainable social economic development. Our goal is, in very simple terms, to use education as a tool to improve individual capability and ability, both as entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs. So Tongston Entrepreneurship Holdings, we, we, we believe that education is an important tool improving individual performance, individual contributions to both the economy of a country, a place, of, a company where you're working from, your business. And then we believe that if one is properly educated, using the right strategy, we call it the entrepreneurial education. One can be the best, one can be general. Our first speaker this month today will be Mrs. Alima Ibrahim Abba. So excuse me for a second.
Hello, hi.
Sorry about that. Sorry. Alima, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, okay, great. The pleasure here, thank you. Hello, everyone. Look forward to the discussion today.
Okay, so she is the Chief Financial Officer at Tongston Entrepreneurship Holdings. She's an Associate Vice President at African Finance Corporation, founder and chair of Skill Outside School Foundation. I'm trusting that our time with her will be productive. So like I said, please let us keep to the rules and just pay attention. Ms. Alema, you could take it from there. Thank you. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, great. Thank you, Promise, for that wonderful introduction. I'll just stop with your screen sharing so I can share my screen. Just give me a few seconds to do that. Okay, I hope you can all see my screen. Excellent. Okay, so thank you, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here. Very excited to get to know all of you today and share some of the thoughts that we have from the Tongston perspective, but also from the guest speaker who will be with us shortly also today, who's an experienced financier as well in his own right, has financed a number of businesses, has supported a number of wonderful people across the country, but also outside the shores of Nigeria, to be able to actualize their dreams, their plans, their passions, and their interests. So I'm very excited for this opportunity to be with you today. Thank you, Promise, also for the very brief introduction. I will start with this slide because I think it's very important I set the scene for what I'm about to say going forward. So I am, as Promise rightly mentioned, as Promise, as Promise rightly mentioned, I am the Chief Financial Officer and actually, incidentally, the Chief Operating Officer as well for Tongston Entrepreneurship Holdings. At the same time, I am an Associate Vice President at the Africa Finance Corporation, which is a $9 billion balance sheet organization, a multilateral financial institution that has financed projects across 35 African countries over the last 15 years. We've done so in several sectors, so call it power, oil and gas, mining. Okay, apologies. I think you lost me there. So this is very telling that we still have a long way to go on the continent with our technology infrastructure. But hopefully you can still hear me and you can see my screen. So yes, so we have a huge track record on the continent, and we've seen so many different businesses, both in country, led by governments across the continent, but also external foreign partners that are coming in to invest in Africa, given that they've seen the opportunities that exist on the continent. And I can safely tell you that a lot of the discussion we're having today is brought from the experiences that I have faced working on a number of transactions, but also seeing how projects are birthed on the continent and how they're able to be sustained over time. We've interacted with the likes of Dangote, whom you see in subsequent slides today. We're one of the financiers for his refinery. Many of you would have heard about the refinery. Once it comes on stream next year in Nigeria, it will be the largest refinery in the world. So really game-changing entrepreneurs that are really building successful businesses. At the same time, we also work with entrepreneurs, so people who have very many passions, who want to lead really large organizations and want to be in the government, the nonprofit sectors and the private sectors, running as CEOs, COOs, general counsels, head of media, head of IT, head of finance, whatever it is. So I think we're speaking to all of you today in this session, and I hope that the very many experiences that I've had over the years as an entrepreneur, but also as an entrepreneur in many ways, and I think many people will share the same views with me. I hope that we'll have a very interesting conversation. So I'll go straight into it. Promise has already spoken about Tongston, but I really want to hone in on a few points. Promise has rightly mentioned that our entire vision is premised on just the words that you see there. The focus is around unemployment, underemployment, unemployability, and also over dependence on government, which are the key features you see on the African continent. All of you live and see this. I mean, anybody who lives in Nigeria now can see the rate of inflation that we have faced over the last 18 to 24 months. The world is at war, effectively, given how connected the environment that we live in is. Russia and Ukraine are fighting, but suddenly all of us are feeling it. Why? Because Russia and Ukraine are some of the largest exporters of wheat, largest exporters of fertilizer, which we use in our agriculture. So the world is very connected. So we have to really understand the implications of what's happening globally on where we see and how it's making the economic situation in our countries very difficult, and which is also plunging people in lots of challenges, but also making entrepreneurs amongst all of you, some of you who are here, really facing a number of challenges. So that's what Tongston is seeking to address, is really making rid our continent of some of these challenges. How do we do this? We focus on what we call entrepreneurial thinking, and I'll speak a bit more to what entrepreneurial thinking means. And we do this by focusing on a number of things. So education, Promise talked about this. It starts with education. We need the education to equip us. And I think all of us here in this session, we're all hopefully having an education. We're going to learn from each other today, but it starts with that. Then it's about you being able to leverage on what you know, the skills you have, and the attitudes and the values that you've developed from what you've learned, to then turn that into something, whether you want to be an owner of a business or you want to do your own thing in the context of an organization. So this is how we achieve what we achieve. And we do this through leveraging also on media, which is putting your word out there, being able to communicate what you're doing, building that influence that you have, but also being able to understand business principles, what has made the most successful businesses grow and become who they are, but then also the power of finance, which is what we're talking about today. So I'm very excited to see how we can also deepen those principles and learn from one another in that regard. We have 4 entities that we do this through. And I would just say very quickly, the 2 of them are focused on education, Tongston College and Institute. The venture side is the side that focuses on finance, where we do a lot of advisory work, similar to what we're doing now, provide financing also to businesses that are very game-changing for us on the continent. And then we also have a media arm that helps us really put out the word for the work we're doing, but also more importantly, the businesses and the entrepreneurs also that we work with. And this is who we are as an organization, and this is the premise upon which we're here with you today talking about this very interesting topic. So I'll skip through some of these slides to just go into the meat of the conversation. We have a number of partners we work with. We can't do this alone, as you can imagine. We're constantly engaging various organizations in the public, private, nonprofit space to achieve that. So if some of you on this call are also interested in partnering with us, we're always open. And if you see yourself as a beneficiary of what we believe is the great work that we're doing, we're also very open. And then, of course, we have a number of memberships and affiliations that we have that we work with. So I will end there. Now, first bit of, point of pause is I'm sure many of you come from various backgrounds. You're doing multiple very interesting things. From some of the introductions that I saw in the chat box, some people are passionate about the arts. I saw some submissions that said agriculture and fashion design. That's a very interesting combination. I haven't seen that, Fatima, in a long time. Somebody has spoken about herbal cosmetics development. That's very interesting. That's actually very interesting. I think we should speak more about that, Aliu. I'll be keen to hear. International studies from Mercy, that's also very unique. Because again, we need more people in the international discourse, really driving what the narratives for the continent will be. I see also another person who's here talking about EdTech, Mr. Christian. This is very interesting. A physicist, a mathematician, a teacher, and a data scientist. Wow, I don't know how you're able to do all of that, but I'm sure you'll be able to tell us more. So lots of very interesting fields here. And so you will find yourself in one of or multiple ones, of any of these careers or vocations or businesses. On this screen. And I think it's very important to be clear about what that path for you is. What is that key passion? Even the most successful entrepreneur started with something. Okay, so even the great Aliko Dangote started with cement. It was a very specific area, very niche. And he grew the business from that. And then he started building a whole brand, a whole conglomerate around it. So the question is, what is that passion? And I am happy that quite a few people on this webinar have already identified what their passions are or what areas of business that they're into, which is very, very important. And I think it lends itself to the other things. Because first of all, you have to know your art. You have to know what you're good at. You have to hone it for a financier or anybody to even take you seriously and want to participate in the product or service you're offering, or even want to give you funding, or even buy the product or service that you're offering. So first of all, is actually being able to identify that. Now, I have here on the screen some, I don't know if, let's do a quick test, whether how many of these great faces that you can recognize. Let me see. You can put it in the chat box. Let's see how many of these faces that you can identify in the crowd today, and let's hear why you think they're amazing or not, because some people may have a different view. So let's see what we can get in the chat box. Can you identify any of these faces and what makes them exceptional or great in your opinion or not? I'll just pause for a few seconds, see if we have any responses that come through the chat box. Anybody who's brave enough to respond? The Nigerians in the house must be able to recognize one person. Otherwise, I think we'd be very upset. And I just mentioned his name. Okay, let's see. Okay, some things are coming on the chat. Okay, great. Mr. Christian, thank you. Oh, Jack Ma. Oh, good. I thought that this may come last. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Oh, we have a hardware developer, artificial intelligence. Wow. Mr. Abdurrahman, Good to see you. Jay-Z, very nice. Jerry, this tells me something about you. Maybe you like your music. Okay, Christian, you're on a roll here. Mark Zuckerberg. Oh wow, Abraham is giving it to all of us. He's not giving anybody a chance. I think that's it. He's given us all the names. So we should just leave it. Bill Gates, Jack Ma, Ongoti, Oprah Winfrey. Yes, very good. I wonder whether anybody can recognize this person here. I don't know if you can see my cursor hovering on this face. This is a trick question. I'm still hovering. Okay, I see somebody in the chat. Okay, Elon Musk. Oh, his mentor. Very good. Steve Jobs. Oh, Mr. Fred. Thank you. It's a pleasure to see you here. Thank you for joining. Steve Wozniak. Okay, interesting. Okay, so nobody has gotten my quiz correct. I will give a prize as an incentive. So this lady here, Cher Wang, most people don't know her, but she's the founder and chairman, and also now CEO. She's come back again of HTC. Some of you may have known HTC during the time that we had Sony and Motorola. Yes, if anybody remembers that, if your first phone was Motorola. So HTC was very known at the time, but they're very much a component manufacturer before they transitioned to become a full-fledged product firm themselves. But she's a very interesting one. You should read her story. So what do these people have in common? They're very successful entrepreneurs that have been able to build a brand. They've been able to build products and services that are of value, and they've built brands that are highly profitable. So this leads me to 3 points: value, influence, profitability. This is what we believe are the nuggets of any successful business or passion for you as an entrepreneur or as an entrepreneur for Tongston. And we believe if you have these 3 nuggets, you've put yourself on the path to being able to access finance. Okay, now, these 3 points are very salient but very important. When I say value, I mean, what problem is your product or service solving? And that product and service could be a business within the context of a business. It could be you. You are solving a problem, or you're providing a need, you're serving a purpose to someone else within the context of an organization. This is extremely important because everything comes down to this. If the product or service or you are not valuable, nobody will bank you. No financier will give you any money. Nobody will take you serious. So everything is at the heart of value. Are you a valuable individual? Do you have a valuable business? Do you provide valuable products and services? You have to ask yourself this question. And this process takes time, which is the chart that we put on the screen here. You have to be able to do your research. And whilst you're doing the research, you have to build your own capabilities. What are you good at? What are your skills? What is your knowledge? What is your attitude? Who are you as the brand, the face behind the business, or you as the employee going to pitch yourself to an employer? You have to be able to ask these questions. When I think about myself as a young person coming into the space as an entrepreneur, I started working some way at the age of 8. I was volunteering. I was, at the time, I didn't even think it was anything serious, but I was just doing things. But it was an unconscious way of building skills and capabilities and an attitude that has positioned me to who I am today. My first job, I was 18, when people were running around, enjoying themselves. I was busy trying to work. I didn't make an income from any job that I did until many, many years later, when I was about 19 or so, when I had my first formal internship at university. Before then, all the jobs were unpaid, and I had to figure out how to eat. I had to figure out how to transport myself. But these were sacrifices to build the skills and build the capabilities for me to be valuable someday. Fast forward, I did the internships back to back. In fact, I remember in my first year when I did my internship, I had exams, and I had to spend the period that I had to study for my exams to actually be interning, because that was the only slot that I had to be able to do that. So making these kinds of sacrifices to build yourself. And then thereafter, continuously working. I had a part-time job when I was in university. I was doing multiple things at the same time. I still did my degree and I still ended up with a first. What did that mean? Because I had to make sacrifices. Didn't have friends. I didn't have time to enjoy myself, but it was okay. Because for me, it was about making myself a valuable individual. Fast forward, then being able to get the role and continuously growing in that career. So it's extremely important you do the research of what the market wants. What is valuable to the market? Who are the customers that you have? Why should they pay for this product and service? Why should they hire you? Put yourself in the shoe of your employer or the shoe of the person who you're asking to bank you and your dreams and your passion and your interests. Once you've been able to define that, once you've done your research and you've built your capabilities, you then need to come up with what is the solution? What is my USP? What's my unique selling point? Who am I? What makes me special? What makes this business special? And then you test it. You test it. You keep testing by doing the internships, by working in different places, by volunteering, by advising people, by teaching people, training people, whatever it is that you think will enable you test it if you're an entrepreneur. And then for the entrepreneur, you're prototyping, you're testing, you're selling it to people, you're giving it to friends and family. You are not making money in the process, but you're just helping to validate the work that you're doing. And then you reiterate, you keep going, because nothing in life is constant. If you think you know enough or you think your product is the best, sorry. We have a lot to learn from people like Zuckerberg. Every year or every other year, there's a new iPhone. It's an improvement of the old iPhone. So there's a constant need to progress and to ideate. Dangote is a leader in cement, but that wasn't enough for him. So he started doing sugar, he started doing things. Now he's doing refinery and fertilizer, something nobody ever imagined. He's now purchased Peugeot. He's going into cars. So that's what an entrepreneur is. You're constantly trying to enhance that value. Now, once you do that, then you move to the influence side. How do you make yourself influential? How do you package yourself? Essentially, I think that's the word. How do you put yourself out there? How do you get people to say, cement is to Dangote, phones are to Zuckerberg? How do you get yourself to become that name? That's where the influence comes in. But it's a function, as I said, of your value. And then lastly, it's the profitability around it. How do you then use the influence and the value to make what you have profitable, or you profitable, by earning multiple streams of income? So this is very important as a concept to really digest. And I'm taking the time to do this because it's at the heart of everything. I hope nobody expected to come and hear some quick answers to how to make money, because that's not what this session is about. It's really about giving you the tools to be able to present yourself in a manner where you are valuable, you're influential, and it therefore leads to the profitability for you as an individual, ultimately. I'll skip over this actually, and I can come back to it later. Now, for you as an entrepreneur, as an entrepreneur, as an employee, what is your source of income? Is it just your salary? Because if that is, then that's a problem. You have to create multiple streams of income for yourself. There have to be different ways that you're generating income to be able to fund the passions that you have, to fund the interests that you want, to be able to build your capacity so that you continuously have that value and that influence as an individual. And so what we have at the top left here is what all of us as employees have, is our monthly wages, our daily wages, our weekly wages. How do you transform that stream of income into multiple streams? There are two thoughts here at the bottom of the screen for you. One is, what skill do you have? What knowledge do you have? What attitude do you have that you can sell as a freelancer, as a professional? Please ask yourself that. If you say your passion is the arts or even technology, and you work in a technology firm, how are you using those skills to be able to make income as a freelancer or as a consultant or as an advisor? It's a thought, because that's a second stream of income for you. Third is around investing. How many of us here invest? I get questions all the time from people, I have this amount of money, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know where to put it into. I have 50,000 naira, I don't think it's going to do much for me. No, it starts with as little as 5,000 naira, or for the people who are amongst us that are outside of the country, as little as $5, $10. It starts that way. Some of the greatest entrepreneurs, greatest entrepreneurs that we hear started with nothing, with very little sums of money. So we shouldn't be afraid to be able to put ourselves out there, build our financial education, and be able to invest better. Now for the entrepreneur, you're most likely going to be here, right? You have a business that you're running, small, grows to become a big business at some point. How are you putting yourself in the shoes of your employees? How are you investing the funds that you're getting? Because I know many business owners who at the end of the month, whatever they make, they just spend it. Are you reinvesting in the business? Are you investing in other things for you to create multiple sources of income beyond the product or service you're selling? It's a very important point. Now, there are very many ways, and we'll talk about them in bits and pieces, but these are very simple sort of tools that you can be able to access money. So first of all, it's yourself. You are your best source of income, to what we said. But there are other ways as well. You can crowdfund. You can access intervention funds from governments. You can get donations from friends and family. Many successful startups started based on donations or fundraising rounds from friends and family. You'll be very surprised if you have a very valuable product or service, or you yourself as a valuable individual, people will finance you. They will, I assure you. It's been tried and tested. It never fails. Now, other things are grants. There are lots of grant funding out there. Somebody talked about artificial intelligence. Somebody talked about agriculture and eco-friendly services. These are all very important things that they're banking a lot of cash these days. Money is just being thrown at them. So how do you then position yourself by ensuring that you have a valuable business, or you yourself are valuable, you're influential, and therefore can then access these things? Business challenges, incubators. Tongston is one of them, where, as I said to you earlier, we provide services to be able to access capital. Loans, debt, we'll talk a bit about that today as well. We have a very experienced financial expert here with us today. And please, the other thing I just want to also quickly say is that it's not just about money. You know, when we talk about finance, it isn't just cash. How are you leveraging on partnerships to get you where you want to get to in terms of in-kind support? So instead of asking somebody for money, why not ask them to give you the media service to enhance your influence, or give you a slot to be able to have a free ad, or give you access to an office space, or be able to give you advice or mentor you or guide you. These are all in-kind ways of being able to get to the same answer without necessarily asking for cash. Other things are endorsements, approvals for you to be able to get things done. So this is all just to say that not everything is about cash, and we shouldn't narrow our minds to that at all times, because it's very important that you see the opportunities that are at your fingertips. Now, personal investing, I just want to say a few quick words on this. As I said earlier, what do you have? Your skills, knowledge, your attitude, you can make money out of, very important. Please do think about this. And how do you save? What do you save your money into? Right? There's so many things. One of my colleagues said something amazing, that her father always told her, whenever you have any amount of money, just buy dollars and keep it. Just put it in your bank account, just leave it there. And you know, if many of us did the same thing, we would have made quite a bit of money by now, because between 2019, 2020, and now, the naira has depreciated by 200% just in this short period of time. So had you bought dollars 2 years ago at 300 and something, it would be worth 600 naira now. The gap is so wide. That's investing. Cash, putting money into foreign exchange, is investing. You know, I'm sure most of you see this. Many of you will see this on YouTube. You see Alpari, OctaFX. You know, all these various people that are advertising their platforms. They're basically trying to tell you that this is an alternative way of investing. Stocks, bonds. If you go to your banker, you don't have to have millions of naira in your account. With 5,000 naira, you can buy a school bond in Nigeria. Many people don't know this, but it starts with 5,000. If you just need a conscious effort to put small amounts of money in your investment account every month, You'll be surprised in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it doubles and triples and quadruples. It's about that will to keep going to invest. Then real estate, it could be land in your village. It could be a small piece of farmland. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be a fancy real estate building in the city. No, it's about owning assets. It's about investing. It's about building your wealth over a period of time with the little that you have, constantly doing it. It's about being consistent over time and then building a base. Now, I will end with these slides because I want to hand over to Manjeet for you to really hear his expert thoughts on this. But I just want to please leave you with some of these questions to ponder on, because these are questions that people don't ask themselves, but expect to be backed by financiers. And it's very difficult for a financier to back you if you don't have clear answers to each of these questions. So I will leave you with these things. You say you need money. Money is a stumbling block for you to implement that passion, for you to implement that business. How much money do you need? What do you need it for? When do you need it? Why do you need it at that specific time? What value is it going to add to you or the business? Do you want to be able to pay back that money or not? If you want to be able to pay it, is it in cash or is it in kind? How much do you want? Do you have yourself that you can put into that passion of the business, or that you have put already? Because it could be past tense. And after you use this money, what next? When do you need to come back again, and for what? These questions need to be very clear in your mind, because these are the questions every financier will check, whether it's to fund a passion you have as an entrepreneur, your studies, your ideas, your personal development, whatever it is, or it is to back a business that you have. These questions are critical for anybody that's a financier, whether it's a bank, whether it's an individual, whether anybody at all who's not just giving you the money for the sake of it. But if you say you want to really be able to access the funds, then you have to be able to answer these questions concretely. And just a few tips, I'll end here, is please put your money where your mouth is. You cannot ask anybody to back you if you yourself haven't backed yourself or the business that you want or you are in. Very important. We need to see skin in the game. We need to know that you've invested blood, sweat, and tears into this endeavor, no matter what. And guess what? To a financier, you can never say you don't have enough. You must. You have to show the grit. You have to. I give you an example. Dangote Refinery and the fertilizer complex in Nigeria cost over $12 billion. $12 billion. Not naira, dollars. Of that, 3 to 4 billion came from Dangote. 3 to 4 of his own money, $1 billion. Even if you're the richest man in the world, that's a lot of money to bring out. Now, we're talking about Dangote here. Dangote is the most successful African entrepreneur. It's probably one of the wealthiest if you check the Forbes last list. But yet, the banks that were giving him money insisted he needed to put 3 to 4 billion of his own cash into this. I just want that to sink in, because sometimes we think that these things only apply to us because we have the small businesses or the small passions, but the principles apply the same wherever. You have to have a clear business. We talked about this. Value, influence, profitability. You have to also be able to keep track of the monies, how you're using it, what you're doing with it, what value it is adding. Nobody will back you if they do not see a trail, if they don't have transparent access to what you're using the money for. You have to build the trust, because people back people they trust. This is very important. You have to also manage yourself, which is what I said before. You have to prioritize. It's not about living the good life or whatever. No, you have to build a base to get there. If you look at the most successful business entrepreneurs in the world and the most successful entrepreneurs, they live very simple lives. Look at Elon Musk's house. Very simple. You know, they don't, I mean, Zuckerberg wears a t-shirt and when he came to Lagos, nobody even knew it was him until they saw his face. They were like, this guy is, this has to be him. So please, You have to manage yourself. You have to manage your cash flows. You also have to invest in assets, things that will yield you money. If you have to spend money, spend it to do something with it. So somebody said their passion is in the arts. Do you own your own camera? If let's say that's the area of arts you're interested in, do you own brushes? What can you use to be able to make money from that passion? You should invest in such things. We talked about saving and investing, and also collecting data on the people who will support the work you're doing, buy the products and services you're selling as entrepreneurs, or will back you as an entrepreneur. So I will stop there and I will pause in case people have any questions as well. I'm going to try to look at the chat box. If anybody has any questions at this point, happy to take them. Otherwise, I will hand over to Manji to really take us through, I think, building on what we've discussed. What are some of those practical channels that you can access in terms of funding, in terms of opportunities that can enable you really fund some of the great ideas that you have that I've already seen in the chat box. So I will pause there for a minute, and if nothing, then I'll hand over to Manji. Thank you so much for also being here with us. I think you guys will have a wonderful time hearing from Manji, very experienced individual. I myself am very keen to hear from him because, as I said, we're all constantly looking for ways to finance our passions and our businesses. So thank you for listening, and I'll hand over to Manji at this point.
Yeah, thank you, Madima. This is very helpful, wonderful, wonderful. So much to have learned. We all need to be valuable. I don't know, the previous slide, I don't know if people could just quickly answer those questions in the chat box. Why we also expect questions. The slide, yes. So everyone can just go to the chat box and quickly just respond to these questions very quickly. Let's get some response. Maybe from them we can get more feedback from Mrs. Alima. And yes, okay. Thank you. Yes, we're actually getting comments already. I also have a poll I want to share, but let's get the poll was supposed to come first, but I will see. Okay, thank you, Ma. Great. Okay. Fellow. Okay. I was expecting a lot of questions. Okay. Okay. I said okay. Oh yes. So yes, we should all go to the chat box and see if we can answer the question. The one currently on the screen. Yes. What amount of money do you need as an individual, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur working in an organization? What is the amount of money do you really need? What do you need it for? So let us just answer those questions very quickly. Very insightful. Thank you, Mrs. Maureen.
I have there's a question in the chat box. Promise, it will be
okay.
Now.
I don't know. Okay, I've not seen it, but go ahead.
Yes, we have several products. Fatima, thank you for the question. So the question was, does Tongston Entrepreneurship Holdings have any products for entrepreneurs like us? Yes, we do. We have several products. As I said, all of our products are centered firstly around education. So we have educational products to teach you all of these things that we're saying. All these things I'm saying are all snippets from the materials and the products that Tongston has developed over the years from its expertise with all the faculty members, all the memberships, all the various partners that we work with. So first of all, for us, we need to get the education right. We need to get you with the right skills, knowledge, attitude to make you an entrepreneurial thinker, which is what I said earlier: value, influence, profitability. So that's the first product that we have for you. So if you're interested, please do let us know at the end of this session. We are very happy to share some more information with you, and you can go to our website for further information, which is down below on my slide, www.tongston.com. Secondly, we also have media products to support entrepreneurs who want to put themselves out there in terms of marketing, in terms of branding, putting together that right logo, your materials, your positioning, your communication, how you engage with your customers, your advertisements, whether it's on social media, TV, radio, whatever. We provide all of those services, also helping you manage your events as well to put out your products, whether it's a launch or otherwise. Then we also have financing products where we advise you on how to raise money. So we have relationships with various financial institutions that we've worked with over the years, and we can help you be able to access some of that capital. So before, if you remember, I mentioned government intervention funds, for instance, like we used to have one before, we win. Now NERSL does some, CBN does it through the various intervention funds that they have. I'm speaking about Nigeria. There are other institutions as well, banks that provide SME loans, which Manji will speak about in a bit. So all of these services are there, and we can help you be able to put in the right applications, be able to access them, positioning your business also in a manner where it can hit these 3 points that I mentioned: value, influence, and profitability, to enable you access this capital. And then we ourselves have money to put in you. So if there are businesses that are very interesting to us, we can also invest our own capital into you, because we believe in helping build fantastic, sustainable businesses, because that's the only way we can achieve the kind of growth and development we want as a continent. So education products, media products, business products, and finance products as well. We have all 4 that we can offer you. And as I said, you can go to our website, you see more details. I'm happy to also share to everybody who's been registered on this call after this webinar. So I'll stop there. Promise, I'm really eager to hear from Manji. So I think at this point, we should probably bring Manji in and for him to share fantastic, wise words, because I'm also mindful of time as well, so that we don't keep people waiting.
Yeah. I think it is right time that we start. But please, before we do the pool, I just want us to take a minute. We have 34 people here. I'm launching the pool now. Please let us just take just 3 questions. Just pick and answer them very quickly. Simple, straightforward questions. Which better describes self-employed, business owner, so on and so forth. Second question: finance is the greatest challenge my business/passion has. So just go ahead, just pick the correct responses very quickly. Okay. Yes, I'm already getting responses. Thank you. Yeah. Wonderful. Okay. Wonderful. Yeah. It's awesome. You have 25% business owners here and 25% self-employed. Yeah, that's nice. We have some students here too. Wonderful. Wow. So most people in the house believe that finance is the greatest challenge of business and passion is 75%. Right? So only 25% agree, and nobody is disagreeing. That's huge. Wow. So we have around 23 people here who are not working in the line of their passion and their passion. Their business and their current business and passion is not their passion, not in line with their passion. So thank you so much. I think okay, more people are responding. I have 15 people out of the 32 people so far. 30 seconds more. Let's see if we get more people to respond. 16 now. Yes, please. Just click on the poll. Okay. Okay. Magic can take it from here. Thank you so much for your response. That was very helpful. Second, please. Let me share my screen. Mr. Lima, I want to share my screen, please. Okay. So Mr. Manji is our next speaker. Sorry about that. Okay. So Mr. Manji is our next speaker. He's the relationship manager, business and commercial client at Stabik IBC Bank. He's a business developer enthusiast with a 6 years career in financial sector, agriculture, renewable energy, oil and gas, SMEs, Africa and China banking. I'm trusting that our time with Mr. Matthew is as interesting as that with Mrs. Alima that just concluded. It was a lot. Trusting questions, always use the chat box. Please let us also remember that the rules are simple. Keep your while the speaker speaking. Thanks for your attention. You can hear us. Please let us hear your voice. Turn on your camera if you want. Mr. Manji? Mr. Manji, can you hear us?
You're on mute, sir.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'll just go straight to the introductions. I apologize. I joined in a bit. I apologize for joining a bit late. Had some network challenges, and we're in the process of concluding a transaction here at the branch. So that's why it might be a bit hectic, and I'll have to be a bit shorter than intended. My name is Manji Gokwan. I'm a relationship manager, commercial banking, business and commercial clients, basically, with Stanbic IBTC Bank, part of Stanbic IBTC Holdings, a group that is involved in a number of activities, not just bank itself, pensions, asset management, insurance, trustees. I'm sure everywhere you go, one out of 10 pension, one or two out of 3 or 4 pension holders have a pension account with Stanbic IBTC. As I said, I do work with the bank. We are under the South African Standard Bank Group. That's our parent company, and also under the ICBC, International China Banking Company. So we are quite well versed in the banking sector across the world. So I would like to take off from where Halima ended. It was a very insightful and knowledgeable presentation. I actually learned a lot, and I feel like she hyped me up a bit, and that's just how Halima has always been. I'm always learning from her as well as she learns from me. Just we both learn off each other. So I'll just go straight to the point. I'll try to be brief. I'm leveraging on where she left off, basically how a commercial bank like Stanbic can come in when looking at accessing funds. I'll also look at investment options down the line before we go, but accessing funds for running your business. Like I said, I am a relationship manager in commercial banking. I do work with a number of clients in the agri sector, IT, Africa, China banking, as well as construction companies. But I also deal with SMEs, even in my past life when I was a relationship manager in GT Bank as well. We have dealt with SMEs. And since this forum basically is more geared towards SMEs and small businesses, I'll more or less focus on that, on our SME products and our SME offerings with Stanbic IBTC. First of all, we look at SMEs, small medium enterprises that provide services or business services across different areas. Basically, Each of those sectors that I've mentioned, most of them also have SMEs. SMEs are more targeted towards the everyday man, basically the business of the everyday man, looking at how they can leverage on their passion, basically their desire and their knowledge on of certain things. So going straight to our SME products, we have what we have going on now, basically our short-term loan and short-term funding options for SMEs and small businesses. Basically, we look at how we can fund your business to upscale up to a certain level or try and bridge working capital gaps. And let me break this down a bit when it comes to supporting working capital or bridging working capital gaps. I'm going to be working with examples. Basically, I think that would be best look at, and I'll focus on certain businesses, fertilizer distribution and FMCG distribution. So we look at we'll start with FMCG distribution. FMCG is basically fast-moving consumer goods, your provisions, all these, your biscuits, your caprisons, and all that. So a business that deals with FCMGs, they normally distribute these products of maybe peak milk or Promasidor or any other major producer of certain confectionaries and beverages. So where a company like Stanbic will come in to support an FMCG distributor, which is classified under an SME, we'll be looking at how we can upscale your business. Basically, you have a market space that you want to supply to, you want to supply these products to. There will come a time where you have your stock, you sell, depending on how popular you are, depending on the region you're in, you might have your customers coming in and buying very, very, very quickly. And then it gets to the point where, let's say you have a stock of 100 and your plan is to sell 100 over the space of, let's say, 3 months. And month one, you sell 50, way beyond your plan. Month two, you sell 50. You still have another month left in order to cover this gap. You were planning to spread this 100 over 3 months, but because of that huge demand and possibly the strength of your business and the strength and the popularity of your business, you are able to sell much more. So there's a gap basically where you have your customers and you have limited supply. So this is where a bank like Stanbic IBTC can come in with a form of SME lending product, whereas we can give you some form of short-term funding for you to be able to service that gap that you have for your final month, to be able to sell and make back higher profits than even you expected. So these short-term loans are tended to bridge working capital gaps in terms of filling obligations, supply obligations, to make sure that your business doesn't suffer for it and your clients don't suffer for it. How it is structured is we give out these loans for short tenors, maybe space of a month or between a month and 3 months, because we believe that that is enough time for you to be able to purchase your goods and be able to sell it to your market over a period of time. And this way, you don't miss a beat because you're satisfying your customers straight away, and you have enough funding to be able to pay back on time because of how well your products sell. So looking back at this particular short-term lending product, one would say before accessing this loan, it's not something that you can come in and say you want to get in this, which is one misconception that bankers have to face from time to time. Whereas there are products that are being advertised and everyone feels it's straightforward to get, because first of all you have to look at, before you can approach a bank for a loan, you have to first look at your business as a whole. And I'll go back to some of the things Halima said. If you're looking at accessing funding, you first of all have to ask, what do you need this funding for? What exactly am I going to get out of it? What is my timeline? What is my cash flow? Basically, how soon can I pay back? Because we operate as a bank, we operate based on our own commercial lending policies, which are also governed by the central bank. So we follow certain rules per se. to lending when assessing a business that is coming to approach us for a loan. We look at the type of business that you're operating in, and the area that you're operating as well. We look at the capacity, what you've done so far in previous periods, such as looking at bank statements, such as looking at your company cash flows, and how well you've done so far, and also looking at the turnover. Turnover is basically how much funds come through your accounts from the business, how much you pump into the business on a regular basis. This is also very important when looking at accessing a loan. It shows if a possible lender that your business is a going concern. It's not basically you're waiting for money to come after a certain period of time, and then you just luckily get some funds, and then after a while it gets a bit dry, and later on some funds come in. It shows that your business is growing regularly and steadily, and it gives that added comfort to a lender that, okay, we have a bit of confidence that this client can pay back. Another aspect of looking at turnover is also the type of what can I say, type of customers you service, type of clients you service in terms of who pays you, basically. Those are one of the things we consider. I'll say for this example, looking at FCMGs, if let's say if you supply confectionaries and beverages to maybe someone like ShopRite or Amigo or H Medics at this point on a regular basis, and we're able to see that you get regular funds from these businesses. These are well-known off-takers, and well structured. We know that, okay, we can get a bit of confidence knowing that, first of all, repayment is always secure. That means you are getting your funds steadily. We don't expect any breakdowns in funding. That's one of the first aspects we look at turnover. We also look at the type of products that you sell. What is the resellability basically of or what is the value in the community of what you are selling? How much is it? If, for example, if you're coming to a bank to access a short-term loan for a product that is, say, seasonal, or for a product that you are going to supply, but you are going to get payment after a certain period of time, it raises certain flags, because first of all, you're relying on a particular payment, and you're relying on
Promise, are you still there? It appears we've lost Manji due to network. Okay, he's back now. Great. Okay, Manji, we can still hear you. Please go ahead, sir. You're on mute. Manji, we can't hear you if you're speaking. Apologies, everyone, for this. We're just having technical difficulty. You're on mute, Manji. You can still hear us? Oh, okay. It appears he can't unmute himself. Just hold on.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, excellent. Great. Thank you.
Yes, every time I was trying to unmute, it says the host is not allowing me to unmute. I don't know why you don't want me to speak, Alema. Why are you blocking my shine to me? I was in the flu. So so I was talking about, if you have any questions, you can also drop down if anyone is lost a bit, I can clarify something. So I'm also where I stopped was the type of businesses where this particular product, short-term lending, wouldn't apply to. So we look at if for example we're looking at contract jobs. If you're coming to access a short-term lending facility for a contract job that you expect payments maybe after the job is completed or maybe in a specific amount of time, basically speculative. And the reason why we look at it as speculative because there are certain factors that we have to consider. So first of all, the payments are not frequent. Second, if especially if you're coming to take a lending for a job that requires a payment just from one particular contract employer or one particular vendor, there are many risks inherent with that, in the sense that, first of all, repayments, what are the guarantees that this party or this contract employer would be able to make those payments as and when due? Because our short-term lending structures are structured basically for between 1 to 3 months. And if you're coming to take a facility for a job where you cannot guarantee that within 3 months that payment will come in, or certain factors can come in, it raises red flags and it affects your ability to access that loan. And certain red flags with certain issues that can, fortunately to say, government contracts, where we can have situations where there are delays in payments, or there are challenges in raising funds, whereas payments are delayed, which affects your ability to repay. So those are the kind of challenges. That's just an example for short-term lending facilities. So I just wanted to be brief on that one because I just wanted to give room for questions on that particular aspect. So the short-term lending facility, it's pretty much straightforward in the explanation I've given. If we wanted to go further in terms of large-scale lending or funding to upscale, this is where things get a bit tricky. And I don't know if this forum would be required for it, because I've been looking at some of the requests that have come in, and it's still falls within that small scale. But I'll also touch on that when we're looking at large scale lending for clients that want to basically upscale or have certain jobs with certain well-known counterparties. They can approach the banks for funding. For example, now I know I spoke about contract jobs. So let's say you have I'll give this is just an example, not necessarily tied to Stanbic, but this is just general in terms of just within the banking sector. So if you have a contract, we'll still focus on the idea of FMCGs, supply contracts to maybe a certain major off-taker. I'll look at, off the top of my head, ShopRite, or maybe H-Medics, or someone of the likes of NNPC, not necessarily supplying FMCGs to NNPC, but in terms of supply contracts to NNPCs. Where I'm going with that is that these major off-takers, and to take you back, an off-taker basically means someone is buying your products, a major company or an entity who you are supplying these products to, who are buying your products, sometimes in large quantities. So that's what I mean by off-taker. So if you have an off-taker of the size of, let's say, an NNPC, these have relationships with well-known commercial banks across
the country. Banks, you can leverage the relationship between these banks and these off-takers to come in and request for funding for you to be able to treat. It's not short-term lending. This is where we now go into structured facilities, structured lending. This is where we now come in, get a bit technical, where we full-scale analysis on your business. We assess it based on our risk acceptance criteria. We look at your, not just your turnover, we look at your cash flows, we look at your company financials, basically statement of account, audited financials. If your company, you get to the point where you need to be audited financials just gives an idea, an open book into your company and how you manage, and also how you present your company to financiers. To touch on audited financials a bit, basically look at audited financials as a CV for your company, where you present it to individuals that want to that you're looking to get finance from. It shows that you know what you're doing and you're ready to answer certain hard questions that come in, because these audited financials are open to analysis. The audited factor there shows that, okay, this has been reviewed by chartered accountants. They've gone through certain aspects of your books, organized your assets, they've looked at your assets, they've looked at your cash flow, they've looked at your opportunities, basically, your products, and how much you've been able to earn and how much you've been able to pay back and creditors. When looking at a full-scale structured lending, we look at your company's audited financials, and then we look at how we can present your request to our credit committee, basically to justify it based on the information you've given us, as well as presenting it in terms of we are supporting a supply job with a well-known counterparty to the bank, which is the off-taker to the size of NNPC, not necessarily NNPC itself. And I want to touch back on something that Halima said, still on the fact of lending. There was one particular thing that she said, you have to be able to, for lack of a better term, have some skin in the game. That's something we say in the banking sector. You have to be able to have some skin in the game. If you're not able to put your own money into your business, how do you expect anybody to believe that your business is viable? Because you can't come in and say you want to take X amount of funding from a bank. Let's say, as we're still going back to this job, let's say with the size of NNPC, you come in and say, okay, I need your support to be able to handle this supply job with NNPC. You cannot expect the bank to fund the whole project or the whole job based on just because you're supplying. We have to be sure that you can deliver. We have to be sure that your business is a going concern. So in terms of, we call that for this kind of situation, we call that equity contribution, whereas the business is able to bring out a certain percentage of the facility sum. So for example, if you are taking 100,000, you must be able to make some form of equity contribution in terms of maybe 20-25%. Sometimes you can even go as much as 30%. Sometimes you can even go as high as 50%. You just need some funds to complete the job. You already have the rest of the money. You're just looking at something to just complete the job. So those are the kind of things we look at. And I'm sorry that I had to, bring it to just a few examples, but I just feel that I wanted to keep it simple. And I'll also touch on, this is what we do at Stanbic. I'll also touch on my past life. I have also worked with GT Bank. I've also dealt with SME lending products in GT Bank as well. We had SME lending products that were tied, more or less tied to tied to the internet banking at some point in time. It was basically a two-pronged approach. Whereas we were trying to get businesses to basically get into online banking, as well as giving them the opportunity to access facilities. We used the system that already assessed the turnover of the company, of the business. Why it's always important to have consistent turnover, cash flows in your business, so that it's not a case of whereby you feel that it's only when you want to access money that you feel that, okay, you should now start running your account. We've had so many situations whereby a client come and say, okay, they want to take a loan, but they've not really done much on their account or something. And they find it difficult to access funding because they felt like, okay, it's only when they have access to a loan, or when a bank is going to give them a loan, then they can now start using their account regularly. No, if you shouldn't wait until you have a facility, depending on the type of business, by the way, but you shouldn't always wait or you have a need for a facility before you feel that, okay, you need to start running turnover on the account. You have to be able to show before you have to, and this is the case of a commercial bank, not necessarily angel investors. We are not looking at the point of angel investors, we're looking at investors, commercial bank, because commercial banks also operate based on risk acceptance criteria. So you have to be able to show that your business is running and things there. You have ways of getting cash flow. You just need a little bit of a bump. Your business is already there. You already have the funds coming. You just need a little bit of a bump to upscale. Not that just a small amount. You have a small amount running and then you just want to just expand exponentially. That causes problems down the line. So back to GT, the reason why I was running that, you have to have turnover on your account is we looked internally on accounts running basically, and we looked at the strength of the turnover of the historical turnover on the accounts, and we saw that, okay, these funds come in regularly, and we comfort in giving facilities to us. This way, and the way you could access this facility was through the internet banking platform. So first of all, you had to be on an internet banking platform and to be able to, navigate your way through it, to be able to use efficiently, to be able to access this facility. So that's where technology comes in, and I feel like that's where it needs to be also also have to look at the technology aspect. You have to be technologically sound, technologically proficient, and you also have to factor in basically technology in your business, because you can't keep using orthodox, or lack of a better word, archaic, or to quote some people, old school. Basically, you can't be using old school methods running your business. You also have to factor in impact of technology. So that was just on accessing funds on the GT side. The same sort of principles also apply when it comes to structured lending, in terms of when you want to upscale and when you want to grow your business. So I think I've offshoot my time by a bit. I was supposed to have been done by 5 because I have some transactions I'm trying to conclude. I do apologize for if my presentation was a bit brief and not as in-depth as Halima's one. I'm still behind that in that regard. But I just hope you've been able to just take a little bit of nuggets, basically, in terms of how to approach a bank when you're coming in for financing.
Yes,
I'm also open for questions if there are any questions on the chat room, or any little questions that can come in before I step out.
Yes, Manji, there's a question on whether you offer short-term loans on the grounds of education from Mercy George.
Sorry?
The question was, do
I can't hear
you offer short-term loans on the grounds of education?
That's a very, very good question, actually. So these short-term loans are tied to certain businesses, and these are businesses that have regular turnover and consistent turnover. For we have basically a separate package within education for schools, because you know how schools operate. Payments are timely, so you cannot expect a regular monthly repayment if you are taking a facility as a school. So the products for schools are different from the short-term lending I just mentioned. And with school lending, there are certain, it's a bit more technical in that aspect because we have to look at what exactly the school is using the funds for, whether it's for expansion or for purchase of equipment or for basically around expansion and purchase of equipment. So this short-term lending is not geared towards schools per se. We have separate product offerings for schools.
Okay, thank you, Angie. And can you comment on generally on wasn't really a question from the crowd, but it was some conversation we're having with Mr. Abraham here on the group. Can you speak about equity financing? Because a lot of what you've been talking about is lending. And majority of small and medium enterprises in the early days will not be able to access, in many cases, may not be able to access loans. So what products do you have in Stanbic that are more suited to early stage investors that are looking for equity investment and may not be ready to take on the burden of loans, if any?
Honestly, Halima, that would be a very, 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 very difficult question to answer, especially coming from the standpoint I'm looking at, because we look at funding of SMEs or small businesses from the aspect of there is a project on ground or there is a need on ground where it's a going concern. So in terms of gaining funds to start up, it wouldn't be what we will be geared towards in terms of getting through with a commercial bank, in my honest opinion. What we've seen in the past is also clients come through certain aggregation schemes from CBN, but it also depends. What is very key in terms of what exactly the funding for, because startup, there has to be a certain type of business that you're looking at. So startup can be very broad. So first of all, you have to look at what this funding is for and what type of business that you're using funding for, because a lot of banks are discouraged on lending to startups because of the strength of the repayment. We're looking at, obviously, we're looking at how to fund and grow the business, but we also look at the points of repayment, where the funds are going to come from. So we have to look at a business. Is this business viable? Is the product that you're offering, is it a high demand product, or is it something that is easily sellable? So you have to look at it before approaching for some form of startup financing. You also have to look within on what you are bringing to the table, to the bank, what your business is, what is your core business, before we can take the conversation from there. I cannot give a definite answer on that because it depends on how your business is structured and what your business plan is and what your intended cash flow structure is. Because you can come, I'll give an example. You can, let's say if you're looking at fertilizer financing now, you are a startup, or for lack of a better term, a sort of a startup, and you leverage on maybe yourself, the key promoter has maybe key contacts with certain fertilizer vendors, the likes of Dangote, although I don't know if Dangote fertilizer have started selling at the moment, but let's say Indorama or Indorama and the likes. Sorry, my brain is a bit hazy. So Indorama and the likes. So if you come in and you have a supply contract with Indorama, a well-known reputable brand, and something that we know that we can confirm and we can look into. It's something that we can also look at how we can structure. So giving a definite answer on that would be difficult, because when looking at loans at a commercial bank, it goes through different stages, different approval processes. It goes through a whole host of credit committee members. So it wouldn't be as easy to say, okay, this is a yes or no, this is a definite answer on that. I'm sorry, my answer is a bit blurry, but it's it's the best way I can put it.
Yes, and I would just say that maybe to add very quick Martin's question on education, uh, and also on equity. I think for the education one, Mercy, without speaking to whether a commercial bank would be able to give you a loan, because I think Manji has spoken to that, but there are many ways of being able to get the type of education we're looking for without actually needing too much access to capital. Because right now, information is out there, is everywhere. When I think about myself, just to give you a very quick example, I was a science student in secondary school. Then I studied law at university, very random. I'm now an investment banker. Just it was not a straight path development. But I can assure you, my knowledge of finance, I got from two sources. So how did I transition, you ask me, from law to finance? Two sources. One is work experience. Second, YouTube. It sounds very funny, but it was YouTube. Lots and lots of watching endless videos on YouTube taught me what I needed to know in terms of the core foundational skill sets of finance. Then the rest of it I tested based on work experience. So the two are symbiotic in my mind. And I think some education, formal schooling, we've been told that we have to go into the four walls of a school to get the kind of education we need. And we go around looking for tens, 20, $30,000 to go and access expensive universities abroad, because this is what we've been told is the path to securing the education we need to get to the passion of the business we are, but it's not true. Today, you want to learn how to build an app, it's all there. Coursera, UDX, Utiva. There's even another one I saw recently, Old School Africa, that you just need 10,000 Naira to pay the application fee, and you only pay the tuition when you get a job at the end of the learning process. You have places like Andela, so many fellowship programs that are out there trying to build the kind of capabilities that young people, all of us need to be able to get to where we are, especially in certain skills that are very seen as marketable, in demand, etc. But the beauty of just what I'm trying to say is that the information you need, the education you need is at your fingertip. I assure you, you do not need any form of formal education in most cases. I'm not saying all cases, in most cases, to be able to get to the passion or actualize any dream you have as an entrepreneur. There, of course, as I said, some professional ones, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a engineer. There's some things that you have to go and get a formal education for, but pretty much most things these days are out there. We just need to identify what they are, where to get them, and just go for it. So I would also say, think about whether it's absolutely necessary for you to finance that education that you're referring to, because degrees and all these things that formal educational institutions are offering us are slowly becoming extinct, I assure you. And these are some of the things that we put out in our education products as Tongston. We're trying to help people see that education can be and has been democratized. It is in our hands. We just don't see it because there's so much information out there. It's all very confusing and it's hard to distill it. And these are some of the things we've done in our education products and services to really help guide people. So I was just going to say that very quickly for you. And then, of course, where you must, then there are a bunch of scholarship opportunities out there. Again, we'll share them. Just click the link that you see here on the platform for the network that we have on WhatsApp, where we're constantly sharing resources with people. So I would just say quickly, Mercy. And for Abraham, and I think many people who may be thinking about this equity funding, Manji is right. Most banks and financial institutions don't like to provide equity because it's risky. There's a very high chance that you lose your money. So most financial institutions don't want to offer you equity capital. But what I would say is the easiest way to raise money, equity, is from two sources. One, friends and family. I know it sounds funny, but really friends and family. And the second one is from accelerators, incubators, and challenges. So if you're in technology, for instance, the likes of Y Combinator, Future Africa, Utiva, Andela. These are all incubators. They are people who are looking for smart people in different sectors to support them. Agriculture is another one. There are a number of incubators that are coming up for agriculture. It's all over the place. Health is another one. Lots of incubators and accelerators all over the continent, looking for very smart entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs that want to build careers in that space. So I think you should really look out for those sorts of entities, because they're the ones who will take you on board. As somebody who's looking for equity, it's not just about money, it's about the other things I said: in kind, the network, the advice, the guidance, the infrastructure. They can offer you all of those things, so you don't have to build things from scratch. So it's like what I said earlier: giving you an office space, giving you access to businesses and other such people as well that you can access, customers, that can back you as well. So really do consider those ones. And then, as I said, friends and family. There was somebody I was recently speaking to who's been building a business. The first ever funding they got beyond what they put into the business was friends and family money. And like I said, you'll be surprised once you package your business well and you present it to your friends and family, you'll be very surprised how much you can raise from them. It could be 10,000 naira per person. But I assure you, if you keep getting 10,000, 10,000, 10,000 from 50 people, that's already quite a bit of money to enable you get to the next level. So it's really, I think, about being deliberate and being smart about how you structure your things. But it's to what Manji said: is the business valuable? Is it something that you think is going to be very profitable? Is there a market for it? Are people going to pay for it? Is it priced right? Is it costed right? And are you keeping your numbers correctly that people can see and can then therefore grow with you? So I think you should definitely consider that, because friends and family are the best people to finance you, because they won't put you under pressure to deliver returns to them early, which is very important, I think, for most small and medium enterprises. So I just wanted to add that very quickly. And just to also say that there's one more question, Manji, and I think we should probably start wrapping up so we don't keep people for too long. It's Friday, thank God. We can all get to rest, except for people who have to work, unfortunately, in the weekend. So one other question that came is: do you have single-digit loans for agri entrepreneurs? I think that was the final question we had in the chat box from from Benjamin Dimo. Do you have long-term, sorry, it was very specific, long-term single-digit loans for agri-businesses? Manju, over to you. If you can still hear us, I hope. Manju, are you still there? You're on mute. You're on mute. We can see you, but we can't hear you. Oh, we need to unmute you. Okay. Let's see. I don't know why this is happening. It's very strange. Just hold on. I will unmute you.
Yeah, you have to unmute. Yeah, so yes, the CBN has a sort of like a agricultural scheme, basically, or in some cases under like the real sector finances. So the CBN does offer single digits facilities, long-term facilities that are normally aggregated through commercial banks. So it's CBN funds, but they are basically distributed through commercial banks. So you can apply through CBN and you choose a commercial bank. Well, it's a bit tricky in funds, but the risk is still borne on the commercial bank itself. So you would be subject to the risk acceptance criteria of the commercial bank. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yes, thank you so much, Manji. I think we have more or less taken too much time actually today. So we're supposed to keep it at an hour and a half. Sorry, I know it took so long. But I think the answer was very cogent. And as we said earlier, and I think we've been posting in the chat box as well, this is just the start of a conversation. we can never really answer all the questions, neither could we really reach all the conclusions in one conversation. So I think for further support, I would just encourage everybody to click the link in the chat, which I will send again now. For you to join our WhatsApp group, you will access a lot of this information. Manju, already, I think you have a customer in Benjamin who's asking how he can begin the application for the CBN facility. So you have your work cut out, and I think we can make the connection between the two of you, because this is an opportunity for people to share ideas, open up their networks. And of course, in Abraham, that we've been going back and forth on, I look forward to hearing from you, Michael, a number of other people that have been, asking questions also on the chat box. And for those of you who've still been taking everything in, please, we're always here to take the conversation forward. So I would just say thank you. I think it's been a very insightful conversation and very interesting. Thank you, Manji. I learned a lot from this, and it was really nice also hearing about your challenges and some of the things that you've been facing. So it's been very interesting. Please do join the WhatsApp link. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the other platforms. Our phone number is there. Our website is also there. So do connect. And you can also access, Manji. I'm sure you can check him out on LinkedIn. He has a very nice profile on his LinkedIn, which I can share a link to as well. So please connect with him. Benjamin, and anybody else who wants to be able to access any of these wonderful facilities. So I should also add, the Stanbic is actually our partner bank. So I'm very proud also to say this and to be affiliated with them. So they've been a fantastic banking partner for us as well. So just to hand over to Promise to wrap us up so that we can call it a day, and then of course enjoy our weekends to come. So Promise, over to you, please, to help us wrap up. And as I said, please do click the link and join the WhatsApp group and connect with us on LinkedIn. We're very happy to keep the conversation going. Thank you. Promise, over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, thank you, Manji. It was a wonderful time. There was so much to learn. There was a final thing we just want to share before we let ourselves go. It's about an event coming on soon. Tongston Entrepreneurship Holdings, titled Keys. I don't know if Malima wants to say one or two things before.
I mean, what to say? It's Keys is a fantastic summit. It's going to be in person in Abuja, also virtual. Imagine it to be the conference that has, I should say, the summit that has people who are in the business, finance, media, and education, in the public, private, and nonprofit space, all coming together in one place. There will be quizzes, there will be entrepreneurial pitches, there will be sessions on various industries, there will be scavenger hunts and games, there will be speeches from industry leaders, both public, private, and nonprofit space. There will be training that we'll conduct and demos of some of our products and services, education, media, finance, business, all of it will be there. It's going to be action-packed. It's actually 3 days. It was initially 2 days, that's what you see in the flyer, but it was so much we were packing into 2 days that we had to make it 3. So it's now going to be a 3-day event. As I said, day 1 is in Abuja. It's going to hold on the 25th of August, 2022, and then days 2 and 3 will be held online, virtually. So people from all over the world are going to join. We have speakers globally that are participating in this fantastic summit that we're creating, which is first of its kind. You don't want to miss this. Share it with everybody. For everybody who's registered on this platform, you will get emails to ask you to register as a delegate if you want to be an exhibitor. So you have businesses in tech, in finance, media, administration, HR, accounting, legal, governance, regulatory, education, whatever. All the people who've presented today, you're all going to be accommodated. If you want to exhibit your businesses to be able to access capital, you want to be able to come and pitch it, access thousands of dollars of capital, do show up, do register for it. And if you have any ideas you want to share, we'll also be awarding some fantastic entrepreneurial thinkers amongst our global network. So we'll be calling for awards as well. I mean, it's so many things in one. If you miss it, then I'm sorry for you. Honestly, I mean, it's just, you want to be there, you want to access this, and it's, as I said, August 25th to 27th, but you also get emails from all of us. So again, join the WhatsApp link, you'll get all of this information from us. Thank you. Promise.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, Fatima. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Manji. Thank you, Elion. Thank you, Fatima, Liu. Thank you, Fred. Nobu. Thank you, Cherry. I can't follow the names here. And but thank you for joining. You'll be getting mails and messages from us on, because this is just this is a 3-part series. This is just the first of the 3 parts. We're getting mails from us on there. And now we continue from here. I'm sure there's so much more to learn. We have more interesting speakers like Manji to be joining us in the next webinar. So nice to meet you. You could have a very great day and great weekend.
Yes,
Thank you
and
so much.
I should add also very quick, the next one has a CEO, so you don't want to miss this.
Thank you.
So yeah, you get all the things, and then we'll also share the recording with you. Please circulate it to your friends and family as well who may have missed it. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
God bless.